everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Property Profits Real Estate Podcast. Your host, Dave Dubeau, here with you. And let me ask you this question. Have you ever been on the verge as a small landlord of ripping your hair out? You might notice up here I'm missing a few hairs because of dealing with property management and tenant management and juggling all of that, trying to juggle your full-time day job if you're still working, juggling family, trying to keep all of these balls up in the air at the same time. If that's ever frustrated you, if you've ever had a challenge with that, then today's guest, Ryan Barone, is going to be a breath of fresh air because he started a company called RentRedi, which helps out small landlords. Now, for our Canadian listeners, just a quick heads up. Unfortunately, RentRedi only works in the US of A. So if you're an American listener, you're going to like that. But if you're Canadian, you'll have to look for different solutions. But this will give you an idea of what is possible with online solutions, with software as a service type products that can just make your life a lot easier. So Ryan, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me on, Dave. Excited to be here.
All right. So Ryan, we were talking a little bit off air before we started here. You're not actually a real estate investor yourself, but you have built this software, you built this company over the last 6 or 7 years. You got a pretty good sized team of 30 plus people on your team nowadays. What the heck got you interested in, the line of work, this kind of service in the first place?
Yeah, it's a good question. It goes a whiles back when I was in college, actually.
Dude, you still look like you're in college. I mean, you're talking to an old
appreciate that. I'll take that. So I was going to school in New York City. I had gotten my first internship and I was all excited to move out of dorms. I was staying in New York City and going to get my first apartment. And so I was actually coming at it from the tenant side at first, believe it or not, where I went to rent a unit. And I certainly was not ready to rent that unit. And they asked for W-2, letter of employment, bank statements, tax returns. I had a guarantor and a couple of roommates at the time. And needless to say, we didn't get that apartment or the next couple. And that led me to my first could there be a better way moment, where initially I just built an app for myself and friends to make it easier for us to apply to units. And quickly I had the realization that I just so happened to be interacting with a lot of independent landlords, and they came back to us and said, "Hey, our site is just as bad, if not worse. If you could make it better for us too, it would be great." And so I kind of, fell in love with over the time, the period of building RentRedi, kind of solving it for both sides of the equations, making a product that landlords, like you said, could hopefully not pull their hair out. And not just on applications, but rent collection and listing, pretty much everything end to end in the rental process, but also still make it great for the tenant that I was at the end of the day there.
Very interesting. All right. So you entered in from the tenant point of view, just looking for a way to simplify the whole rental application process and have all your ducks in a row lined up, ready to go ahead of time. Then some landlord figured out what you were doing, kind of said, "Hey, you and your buddies that are applying to rent at my apartment are way more organized than anybody else. This is making my life way easier. What can we do?" Because there's some other hassles. And then that's how this whole idea came to play. So, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Cool. So again, this is going to be a little bit challenging because we can't necessarily do a walkthrough of the whole software, but can you give me a 30,000 foot perspective 6 or 7 years later now that this thing is a going concern? How does it look from the tenant side of things? And then let's take a look at what I'm interested in and most of our listeners are in. What does it look like from a landlord side of things? And how does it make our lives easier?
Yeah, absolutely. So what we've really become over the years, and it really has been based off of, I'm proud to say, the feedback of so many landlords and tenants on the platform. We've had live chat since day one. My co-founder and myself literally used to answer every single chat for the first 2.5 years. So when you were writing in, you were getting us, we were turning around and either doing a demo with you in his case most of the time, or in my case, programming that update in the app in the early days. But where we've ended up is with a truly end-to-end solution, from listing your unit out, pre-qualifying and qualifying tenants and running your screenings, signing your leases, collecting your rent, even setting up automated schedules for all of that. On the tenant side, either auto pay; on the landlord side of things, auto late fees, automatically depositing to different bank accounts in case you happen to have a different LLC for different properties and trying to separate the liability there, as well as handling any maintenance issues that come in communication with tenants, up until the point that ultimately you're either re-signing that lease with that existing tenant because you like them, or you're listing your unit back out to somebody else. And so we've pretty much covered the entire span of the end-to-end management cycle. And like you were alluding to earlier, we've really built it for the independent landlord, the type of person that a lot of the time may have a 9-to-5 job, and they've put their life savings into, buying a property to put a kid through college or retire early. And it's a really exciting segment to work with, because you get to see both sides of the equations. You have these landlords that have, poured their life into being able to make this possible. And on the flip side of it, you have tenants that want a great, living experience renting from them, and we can help make it, better for both sides of that in there.
Very, very cool. So at this point, how does your user mix look? Obviously you got to have a lot of tenants kind of involved with that to make it worthwhile for the landlords, but you got to have a lot of landlords signed up as well. So it's kind of a balancing act there. So what does that kind of look like for you guys at this point? Wow, that's another fantastic idea. Hold on to that thought for a sec. We'll be right back. Now, are you a real estate investor who's run out of cash or credit to grow your portfolio? Are you looking to grow your portfolio using other people's money and raising capital? Well, I want to show you how to raise 6 figures or more in 6 weeks or less at my upcoming Investor Attraction Workshop. You can get your ticket and find out all about it at investorattractionworkshop.com. We're going to spend a full day taking a deep dive into this roadmap that I've used to raise millions for my deals, and I've helped other people just like you cumulatively raise hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars for their deals as well. So again, you can check that out at investorattractionworkshop.com. And as a loyal listener to the podcast, you'll get 50% off your ticket when you use the discount code podcast. That's right, discount code podcast at investorattractionworkshop.com. See you at the next workshop.
Yeah, so we have landlords actively managing in all 50 states, tens of thousands of landlords on the platform. We're up to over $11 billion in assets under management on the platform today. And really the way that it works is that a landlord decides they want to adopt it for themselves realistically first. And they may want to streamline their rent collection or make it easier to handle maintenance or listings or finding tenants. And as a result of that, the tenants get the trickle down effect, the improved experience, just because that landlord chose to do it. And so they may invite their existing tenants to start paying rent on the platform. We would help them get renter's insurance, for example, if they would like help with that, and even show that to the landlord. So if it's in your lease that your tenant needs to have renter's insurance, you can see if they cancel that or keep that, which is a big help. Or we'll even report that rent to credit bureaus to help, your tenants build their credit just by paying rent on time, which, on the landlord side of things, great always to get your money on time. And on the tenant side of things, it's nice to build up your credit and hopefully get a little bit of a reduced rate next time you take out a car loan.
No, that's a win-win scenario there. That's for sure. Excellent. And so you've got tens of thousands of people using the platform already. What do your landlords say is kind of the biggest headache this is taking care of for them? Which, since you've started the whole thing, what has become the thing that might have surprised you? You wouldn't have thought of it as being the key thing, but what is that looking like today?
Yeah, to be honest, although the journey started more from the application side of things than anything, I think a huge part of what has driven landlords to our platform is streamlining a lot of the rent collection. There is so much when it comes to that, whether it's certain states that require you to deposit security deposits to a different account than rent, which will automatically do for you if you want to, or you might have a property in Massachusetts where maybe there's a fixed late fee cap that you can apply to a unit. that's either a percentage or a fixed amount, and you have another unit in Texas that doesn't have that requirement. And so you need the flexibility to automatically apply those differently for different units in your portfolio. All of that is, it plays a big part in trying to take what is typically a manual task that you're handling yourself as a landlord, and instead say, if I was going to, if you, Dave, were talking to me and saying, hey, Ryan, this is how I want you to run my property, go do these things. Can we make RentRedi feel as close to that as possible, where you tell me what you want it to do and it goes and does it for you. You get all the oversight, but you don't necessarily have any of the work involved with that.
So Ryan, for your software, your app, do you guys charge a flat fee or is it based on per unit? How does that work? And kind of who's your ideal avatar as a landlord client, and up to what level? At what level is it not really a good fit for somebody?
Yeah, it's both good questions. On the pricing side of things, believe it or not, it's actually a flat fee. We talked to a lot of landlords early on and asked them basically, why are you using spreadsheets versus using something that could streamline the process? Part of it was the solutions weren't really tailored towards them. They were built for massive
they weren't
companies.
even aware the solutions existed. That's probably a big challenge for a lot of people.
Right. Or some of the time it was honestly this feeling of being taxed for your growth. And so it was important for us in the beginning to figure out what is a business model we can implement that can allow you to continue to grow and not necessarily feel taxed for that growth. And the approach that we took with that is most landlords on our annual plan, they basically pay $9 a month total, all of their units. And it doesn't scale as they add more units. And the way that we're able to do that is because we were able to turn around to people like TransUnion on the tenant screening side or payment processors for rent, basically say, hey, instead of treating, Dave as 20 units and Ryan as 10 units and these other people as a few units, treat us as one massive portfolio of hundreds of thousands of units and allow us to basically get discounts for the tenant. In fact, a tenant running a tenant screening through us directly will pay less than if they go directly to TransUnion. But as a result, we're able to make some money on the spread there. So we actually end up saving some money for the tenant. We streamline a lot of it for the landlord and the tenant both, in terms of cutting out the effort. And in the meantime, we're also able to let landlords grow on our platform, add more units, and not actually pay any more to RentRedi as a result of it. So we built it with that in mind. If you have one single family home, and we have lots of landlords on the platform that fall into that category, at $9 a month, I mean, it compared to the alternatives, it's still a no-brainer for you. So we built it as small as one single family home to our sweet spot, I would say, is about 100 units. We have some that break the mold and say, I don't care. I have, a couple hundred or more, and I want to use it anyway because it works well for me, and that's fine. But I would say that sweet spot of 1 to 100 is where we found a lot of success, and really where we've tried to build the platform for the demographic really of that individual or couple or family that's trying to manage their portfolio themselves, those independent landlords that are trying to figure out how can they do it themselves on traditionally spreadsheets, but now with maybe RentRedi streamlining a lot of that process for themselves.
Very, very cool. So Ryan, we're going to wrap up here pretty quick. And I just want to give people a heads up. This is purely informational. I have no financial interest whatsoever in RentRedi, or there's no affiliate type thing going on here. I just thought this might be an interesting tool for you to be aware of. So Ryan, if people want to find out more about you and about RentRedi, where should they go? What should they do?
Yeah, our site's rentredi.com. It's RentRedi. We spell it wrong because we're a startup and you have to.
Yeah, you're a software type thing. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
So you can go to rentredi.com. We have live chat. We're a pretty friendly bunch. So if you ever have any questions, feel free to reach out. Like I said, I mean, we're pretty excited that the platform over the past 6 years or so has been built on really the stories of so many landlords and tenants on the platform asking for different features. So it's always fun to talk with someone new, have them use it, see the excitement a couple months in, or even get some feature ideas out of them.
Well, one feature idea from you is make it available up in Canada. That would be an awesome
I like it. I might have that one solved for you in not too long.
Awesome, Ryan. Well, this has been good. Thank you very much. And everybody, thanks for tuning in. and we will see you on the next episode. Well, hey there. Thanks for tuning into the Property Profits podcast. If you like this episode, that's great. Please go ahead and subscribe on iTunes. Give us a good review. That'd be awesome. I appreciate that. And if you're looking to attract investors and raise capital for your deals, then I'm going to invite you to get a complimentary copy of my newest book, right back there. There it is. The Money Partner Formula. You can get a PDF version at investorattractionbook.com. Again, investorattractionbook.com. Take care.